FBI Director Kash Patel's tweet. Quote, just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest. Now, they say that this individual was eventually arrested by DHS officials.
The FBI has arrested not just one, but actually two judges taken into custody. One in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, another yesterday down in New Mexico. And this is very serious. This is very, very serious. Obstruction of justice cannot be allowed to stand. We were told all throughout last year, no one is above the law. No one is above the law. And yet this liberal judge thought that because she had a black robe, that meant she was immune even from federal law. And by the way, she would be the first person to arrest anyone who obstructed laws in her courtroom. Well, now reciprocity has actually occurred. And we don't mean, by the way, blanket going after everyone. No. But if you are obstructing justice, then you will face charges. Wanted to bring on here someone who can help elucidate the situation for us. This is Vish Burra. He's the producer of the Matt Gaetz Show over at OAN. Vish, how are you, my friend?
Jack, I'm doing fantastic. Great to be back on with you, and we love your show. So we'll show up anytime to talk with you.
Absolutely, Vish. Now let's walk through this because look, you and I went to New York City when Donald Trump. I guess it was about 2 years ago now, was arrested and was hauled in by Alvin Bragg in that Manhattan courtroom. It was a cold day, but we stood out there on that bench and we were calling this a complete and absolute violation of his rights, a violation of due process, and certainly a politically charged investigation. So what were the Democrats thinking would happen if they went after our side like this and totally crossed the Rubicon? What were they thinking would be the response?
Well, they thought that we were going to take it lying down. You know, Democrats pounded this message throughout the campaign through 2023 and 2024, right? That no one was above the law, including a president, a former president, and now our current president, Donald Trump. The fact is that they've always perceived themselves as above the law. And now these judges feel like they're so above the law. But right now, Kash Patel is flying in to make sure that the wings on Icarus start melting because they're just flying a little too close to the sun. The fact is, Jack, that what we're seeing now is the judicial deep state trying to hold on to its power and serve power on behalf of the Democrats, right? Because ultimately what's happening here is that these judges think that they're untouchable, and what we're dealing with is the last of the untouchables, this judicial deep state. And we're not just seeing this here in America, we're seeing this all over the world right now with a global judicial coup taking place. You're seeing it over in Romania. You're seeing it in France. You're seeing it in Brazil. You're seeing in South Korea. You're seeing it all over the world. And this is the thing that needs to be tamped down on. I'm so glad that Kash Patel, the FBI director, is actually taking a stance and standing up to judges like Dugan, who think that they can obstruct justice, who think that they can hinder prosecution, who think that they can aid and abet criminals, illegal aliens, and get away with it. They think that their black robe protects them and cloaks them from the proper application of the law. But in fact, what they are getting now is a real dose of reality and exactly what rule of law actually means and was intended to mean.
You know, this really shows the difference, I think, politically speaking, between sort of the new right and the old right. So you feel like the old right would be arguing, would be posting articles, would be complaining, would be whining. But we're not the whiners and the complainers on this side. Now, many of us are veterans like yourself, former producer of Steve Bannon's War Room. For folks who don't know, by the way, Vish Burra was instrumental in providing the Hunter Biden laptop to the New York Post in that sort of the midnight ride of Vish Burra with Hunter Biden's laptop from hell, the hard drive from hell during the 2020 election. And so Vish is the man who is quite directly responsible for getting that out to the masses and starting the truth avalanche that came out of that. And so, your role in history is secured. But this is the difference. We don't sit around complaining about the left. We do something about it. Isn't that right? And by the way, it doesn't matter if it's a female judge or some guy down on the border who's got Trendy Aragua living in his house. We will do the things that need to be done.
That's right, Jack. And honestly, we know that the Democrats are going to play these games. We know that they're going to use every little bit of power to try and stifle the Trump agenda, whether that's through the Senate or the House or through the courts like we're seeing now. But you know what? The power of MAGA, the power of us, the power of the new right came because we were willing to go after our own side, and whoever was getting out of line or not serving the agenda or not essentially understanding what time it is, we were the ones first to get in their face. And I want to take a moment to do that now. Back in from 2014 onwards through 2020 and 2022, we saw all sorts of pieces. Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader, right? There were all sorts of pieces and media pieces, articles coming out about how, Mitch McConnell may have saved the republic by reshaping the federal judiciary and getting all his Federalist Society people in. Is this the reshaped judiciary that we're now supposed to be clamoring for and supposed to? Where are these people? Why are they not stopping the usurpation of the Article 2 powers of Donald Trump to execute foreign policy, to execute domestic policy, to be able to control who works in the executive branch and the agencies underneath? We're not seeing any of these judges stepping in and throwing these things out of the judicial system, whether they're coming from local district court judges all the way up to the federal judiciary. We're not seeing these vaunted, Mitch McConnell Federalist Society judges stopping this coup, this judicial coup, in its tracks. And I want to know what's going on. Is this the hero that we're supposed to be vaunting and hailing as someone who helped save the judiciary? No, we still have these people on our side in our ranks that we need to get in control so that we can continue to have the Trump agenda executed, whether that's on the ground or in DC, like the people of America voted to see happen.